Okay, let's begin today. We'll make it brief, I guess, to finish by 7 o'clock, dear friends. We're going to begin with as follows. There is a law a real estate law. In Torah, it's called the law of the Bametzra. Bametzra means your neighbor. There are many laws that govern the laws of neighbors who share a common boundary between property, between homes, etc. Entire tractate is really devoted to these laws. There's a law like this. If you have a field and you want to sell your field, so the first right to purchase is the neighbor. Why? Because the neighbor already has a field. He purchases your field. He has now his two fields together. So it's a benefit for him. So assuming you're getting the same amount of money, you have to sell to the neighbor, so much so that if you sold it to somebody else, the neighbor has the right to buy out that purchaser for the money that he paid. Because the purchaser who doesn't live next door to you can buy the same field anywhere. But for the neighbor, it's a benefit to have his fields adjacent. He shouldn't have to farm here and farm elsewhere. That's the law of the Bametz. We're clear? The neighbor has the first right even to buy out a purchase. So the commentary say like this. The Talmud, the Gemara tells us, and Medrash tells us, that when Eibishter came to give the Torah to the Yidden on Shavuos, which we're now completing now the month of Sivan, so the angels came with the Taina and they said, it's quoted in Tehillim, Hashem, give your glory to heaven. Why are you giving your Torah to man on earth? Give your Torah to us. And say the commentaries, their argument is we are neighbors. You want to give your Torah to a distant not owners, a distant party. Torah is in heaven. We are your neighbors. Give it to us. We have the first right. And so they were arguing based on the laws in the Torah itself. And we have a principle that says that unlike earthly kings issue edicts and they're above the law. Hashem, Magi Dvarov LeYaakov, Chukov Mishpatav LeYisrael, we say every day in davening, that he relates his words to the Jewish people, his statutes, his laws. What's the his? Of course they're his. Meaning his laws that he respects. So therefore Hashem also respects this law. So the angels, they have an argument in your Torah, are arguing. In your Torah it says that neighbors have the first right. You're giving it to a distant entity, not a purchaser, a recipient. We want the Torah first. So it's a good argument. So where are they wrong? So the commentaries say that for the following 5 reasons, their argument halachically has no validity. Very quickly, number 1, the law by Metzvah only applies to a sale. If you're selling your land, then the neighbor has the first right. The Torah is God selling it. The Torah is giving as a gift. Therefore, they claim you can gift your land to anybody. I can't say gift it to me. He's gifting it. So that's one objection that the commentaries say to the argument of the Malachim. And second one, it only applies to real estate. Torah is not real estate. Torah is portable. It's transportable. The fact is Hashem is giving it to earth. So the whole argument is moot. A third answer, the law is if you want to sell it to a family member, even if they don't live next door, has first right. Yidden are the children of Hashem, so therefore they have the right and not angels. That's a third answer. A fourth answer is if the person you're selling to is your partner in business, even though he doesn't live next to you, but he's your partner, he also has precedence. We're partners with Hashem. It says if a person, any Jew, a judge who paskins a law according to Torah, partners with Hashem. And likewise, keeping Shabbos is like we're partnering with Hashem in creation. So this idea of Jews being a partner doesn't apply to angels. And the fifth answer is Moshe Rabbeinu himself is called Ish Elikim. And our sages say he was half divine and half human. That's actually a quote. from the Medrash. So the whole argument is that we're close. Moshe Rabbeinu was close too, and he's receiving the Torah. So these are the 5 answers that are suggested by the commentaries. What's the problem? They're all beautiful answers, but it's not in the story. Look what Moshe Rabbeinu answers. I'm going to read you the story. If their argument is the law of the neighbor, I'll give you, here's the quote of what happens in heaven. What happened in heaven, we don't see this in his answer. This is the quote. Direct translation. So the Malach and the angels protested. They said, why should you take note of man? And Hashem says, come to receive the Torah. So the Malachim say, what? Your treasure, which you have hidden for 974 generations before creation, you want to give to flesh and blood. Give your glory in heaven. So Hashem says to Moshe, answer them. Now we just said what their argument is. We're the neighbors. What he answers doesn't seem to answer all the 5 answers we just gave is not in his answer. What does he answer? So Moshe said, Master of the universe, the Torah, what you're giving to me, what is it written? I am your God who took you out of the land of Egypt. He turns to the angels and he says, did you go to Egypt? Were you enslaved to Pharaoh? Why should the Torah be yours? What else does it say? You should have no alien gods. Do you dwell among idolaters? What else does it say? Remember the Shabbos. Do you work? You have to remember Shabbos. What else does it say? Do not swear falsely. Do you do business? What else does it say? Honor your father and mother. Do you have parents? What else does it say? Do not kill. Do not commit adultery. Do not steal. Is there jealousy among you? Do you have an evil inclination? So that's how we answered. So our question is, they're all very nice answers, but where's the answer to? Where is the answer to the argument that they're saying we're the neighbors? It's not in all of the five refutations we just quoted. It's not here in his words. So very briefly, the bottom line answer, my friends, is this. There's another exception to the law of Bar Mitzvah. That you can sell even, or sell to someone who lives, not a neighbor. Angels are neighbors, we're not neighbors. And what's that? If the one buying the property wants to build a home, that is precedence over land for the purposes of a field. A home takes precedence. Here's a very, very deep answer. Hashem's desires, we all know this is the essential principle that we say again and again. Hashem's desire is that we make a home for him where? In the lowest world. That's where he wants a home. Heaven is not Hashem's home. Heaven is not his home. Hashem is revealed in heaven. You know what it's like? When you walk out of your home, friends, you're going to business, you're going to work, you're going to daven. It's you that's going. But the truth is, in everything that you're doing, it's not entirely you. Now you're commuting, now you're driving. Now you're a businessman, you wear different hats. There are different things that a person does outside his home, and they're all necessary. When are you? Not doing, I'm just me, that's your home. Now, when you go out of your home, you may be actually exhibiting tremendous talent. Fantastic businessman, you're a great rabbi, you're a great teacher, or whatever it is that you're doing. And it's tremendous talent, tremendous revelation, tremendous attributes that you're expressing, tremendous mind, maybe emotion, whatever it is, maybe an artist, whatever that you do. But you, it's not. It's not your essential you. You're expressing a talent that you have. When are you? When is a person undisguised in himself? It's in his home. That's a place where I am. Outside the home, I perform. Heaven, Hashem performs. He reveals his tremendous, tremendous revelations and glory and attributes. So wonderful. It's the light. But the essence, the eye of God, Hashem says, I want you to make that where? Here in the physical world, and here's the paradox. In a world that completely conceals me, that denies me, because there's Yetzer Hara and there's temptation to sin, and there is sin, and there's corruption. It's there I want you to make the home for me. That's where my essence lies. Now, this is a very deep idea, like not heaven, but here in this physical, corrupt world. Yeah, that's where the home is. So we're stating right now, we've answered our question. What's the answer to the angel's argument, but we're the neighbor? Moshe's answer is, yeah, but we're making the home. Because his desire is To have a home where, in a world of an Egypt, of a Yetzirah, of temptation, the world of all the things described in the Ten Commandments that you don't have. That's where Hashem desires his home to be. And therefore Torah comes to us. So it's in his answer. Because all the things that he's saying points to in his Ava Kadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem desire Liyas they did it, but to have a dwelling place down here. So it is in his answer. So the 5 answers we suggested are all beautiful, but it's not. I didn't go into actually it's a refutation of all of them. For example, where one of the arguments was that the Torah is gifted, not sold. There's actually an aspect of Torah which is called Macharti Lachem Torasi. I sold. All without going to all the 5 answers, there is an aspect. There's an aspect that it's also real estate, everything that they all argue. That they argue. What's the answer? It's in Moshe Rabbeinu's answer, which the Rebbe is explaining now. The ultimate answer is, here's the home. So let's just address this for a second. This paradox, which is endlessly addressed in Chassidus, that Hashem's desire for a home is dafke in a place which denies it, which is completely concealed. So I'm just going to say this because we're running out of time. The paradox of a home, friends, is because we are vulnerable in our home, that's where you are. The home could be the most painful place. Why? Because you're exposed there, you're vulnerable there, you're sharing yourself in the deepest way, spouse and children, and that's where it could hurt most. If your partner insults you, or your student or whatever, it's painful, but hey, that's a certain part of your life. Cut it out and move on. Doesn't cut so deep. But your home, spouse, your children, where you have shared yourself and made yourself completely vulnerable, I want to tell you, God forbid, not nachas from children or pain from a marriage that's not working. That's the most devastating thing. So we're getting a sense, and we'll continue next time we speak, that Hashem wants to have a home with us in a place, on a level. Heaven, you can't hurt God in heaven. You can't hurt God. You can't even deny him. Heaven is a beautiful place. He wants a home with us in a place where it could be the opposite, could be the most painful, but it could be and is the deepest connection, and that's a home. So we'll explain this further, but I think we're getting a sense. We're getting a sense of Moshe Rabbeinu tells the angels, you don't have a Yetzirah, you don't have all of these challenges, and therefore the relationship you have with is shallow. Hashem wants the deepest relationship, and the deepest relationship is where it's vulnerable. And to make it very simple, the deepest relationship is marriage. It's the only relationship where 1 + 1 = 1. But you could end it. It could be the most painful, it could be a get, can be divorced. You can't divorce children. You always have that connection. There's always going to be some kind of love, but we can see, God forbid, a marriage that could turn into hate. It was the closest, and it can be the worst. And it could be the worst. So Moishe Rabbeinu is saying, your relationship to God, because there's no other alternative, because it's all light and it's Rabbi, you're born into it, you're angelic creatures. God's not connecting to you. He's not expressing the depth of himself. Where is the depth expressed? It's here in this world. That's a home. You're married with this person. That's why it needs constant work, friends. You don't have to work on being loving your children. It's natural. They come from you. It's extension. It's easy. But in a relationship, it's a paradox. You have to constantly work on it because it could end in a second, God forbid. It's the paradox. And it's constant. And yet, if you do work on it, there's nothing closer. That's because it could be the opposite. And that's a home. A home is the deepest relationship because it's the place where it could not happen. It could be the very opposite. It's not natural, not easy. You have to build your home. And you have to invest and share yourself. And there are challenges to it constantly. That's what makes it so deep and so one. And that's what Hashem wants with us. And there's many ways to approach this, but we're getting a sense of the answer. So what's the answer to the angels? Your relationship is shallow. You don't know God himself. The eye of Hashem is not invested in heaven. The light of God, his performance, his attributes. But the eye of Hashem, he wants to share with us, and we have to make it for him in this world. Where there's the Eitzah, where there's the Mitzrayim, all the temptations defined as outlined in the Ten Commandments. When we overcome that, and it's constant battle, then we connect to Hashem in the deepest way, where 1 + 1 = 1, and that's a true home. Okay, my friends.
Amazing. Thank you, Rabbi.
Be continued. We'll be in touch.